A lot of people ask me, why do you work with people in addiction recovery? You know, of all the people that you could work with as a coach, as a mentor, why do you pick this population? And my answer is honestly, I think of life like a pendulum. And I think the further that pendulum swings in one direction, the further that somebody's life travels into pain and despair and heartache and upset, the greater the capacity it has to swing in the other direction. Because I think a lot of the compassion, a lot of the wisdom, a lot of the positive perspective, a lot of the inspiration, the ambition, the drive that we have, in some ways is of equal magnitude of some of the negative things that we've experienced. So when you can take some of the pain that you've been through and realize that this pain is what has prepared me and allows me to lean forward now in service, that's a way to ease some of the burden of the negative things that you've gone through. And then when this is built on that foundation of trust and confidence. Viktor Frankl said that suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of the sacrifice. Finding meaning, and this is from Tedeschi's work, I believe, it says finding meaning is often, particularly in the suffering, is often the difference between experiencing more post-traumatic stress or cracking the foundation and allowing the experience of post-traumatic growth. So again, I need to see this somehow written out so I can understand it. So what I believe this is saying is that some event or circumstance, some trauma happens, and then we add something to it, and some way it can lead to post-traumatic growth. Or we can add something else to it, and it leads to post-traumatic stress. This definition is saying that sometimes it's the meaning that is the difference. Okay, so now there's a meaning. So what kind of meaning could lead to more likely post-traumatic stress than post-traumatic growth? I think if we can't find the meaning, if we can't connect the dots, if we can't say, okay, I've grown and I've been able to do these things, or I can experience these things because of this thing behind me, and we can't find a positively associated meaning, then we do the best that we can and we put in a little placeholder. And that placeholder meaning, if it looks more like, I don't understand, like I just don't understand how the world operates, therefore it's a scary place, bad things happen, or worst of all, somehow I deserve that. I deserve that abuse. I deserve that neglect. I deserve to get attacked. If that's the belief, if that's the meaning that we associate with that event that happened, then it's understandable how that's more likely going to lead to some of the negative symptoms that we see in post-traumatic stress. If instead we can find the meaning more like, man, through that horrible experience, I realized what I gained. Or through that horrible experience, I realized that I now have compassion, greater understanding, greater wisdom, greater depth of resilience. If we can connect the adversity to the outcomes with a positively associated meaning, then it's more likely that we'll experience that post-traumatic stress. So with meaning and despair, so some of the ways that veterans and others might experience this post-traumatic era or chapter of their life, they might feel feelings of being betrayed or rejected by others, suffering emotionally, struggling with substances or behaviors, feeling empty inside. Through some simple practices, we can crack that foundation or at least shine some light on the possibility for things to be different. And a very simple reflective exercise that we can go through is looking back, thinking back to a particular adversity or a hardship in our life and then asking these questions. Sometimes it's a simple process of just asking these reflective questions that begins to help us connect the dots and realize that maybe some good actually did come from this thing that I've only seen through this lens of negative before.